Still trying to get anything you want? Okay, so if you haven't had the chance to watch my last video on how to manifest anything part 1, I'll have a link down in the description below, so be sure to check that out before you watch this one, and then when you're done, you can come back right here. So in the last video, I went over how will plus imagination equals whatever you're trying to manifest. And so I also went over that desire is not the same thing as will, and just because you want something doesn't mean you will do the law of attraction or go with the formula I gave and things will just work. A desire doesn't have enough energy to go from the conscious to the subconscious and impregnate it and then birth your desire or your will or whatever. And so it has to be a will. This is why you'll have people who say, I want to quit smoking cigarettes. And they say they do. They say, hey, they want to. But they don't will to. They desire to quit smoking. But what happens? They don't quit smoking because it's not in their true will. It's in their desire. And so what is one of the things that I didn't go over in the last video? Well, that'd be imagination, and that's what this video is for. Now, I want to talk about the mind's eye. And no, I'm not talking about the third eye. I'm talking about the mind's eye. It's the thing that whenever you're listening to me or someone else talk, and let's say someone starts talking about, oh, the one time I was in detention. Now, if you were a kid that was in detention in and out all the time, your mind is going to go straight back to that. You're going to remember what it looked like. You're going to remember who you would see there usually, the teacher or the chaperone that was there. Someone talks about Thanksgiving, and you will go back to the last Thanksgiving or one of your favorite Thanksgiving. Your mind's eye is so amazing. You can close your eyes, and I can ask you to see your mother, and you can see what she looks like. And if you're really good at imagination, you can bring all 5 senses into this, even feeling, touch, smell. I guess feeling and touch are the same thing. But imagination, the mind's eye, is very, very powerful because, as I've said, everything starts in the mind. And once you start controlling your mind is when you start to begin to control your reality. And so imagination is very important. Now I'm going to talk about what I was talking about in the first video. I talked about bringing balance to both sides, the art and the science, conscious, subconscious, bringing them together in harmony to create whatever you want. And this underlying truth is the basis of all reality. If you take the male force and the feminine force, that's what you need to create new birth. Now the will is corresponded to the male energy, while the imagination or visualization would be a feminine energy. Now, it's not to say that since you're a guy, you're going to be really good at your will. You might be better with the feminine energy and a very masculine man. It's not really a sexual thing, but more as a gender of almost like you've got a plug and you've got an outlet. One's the male side, one's the female side. Positive, negative, light, dark, two opposites. So to bring these two opposites together to create new life, manifestation, whatever you're wanting, you have to bring both sides of your mind into it. You have to take the will and the imagination to actually get it done. And so I've said before, back in my Wealth and Prosperity series, to be able to manifest anything you want, you have to take a statement of intent or a conscious will, and it has to pass over to the subconscious, impregnate it, and then in turn bring new life or manifestation. But how do you do that? There's one thing that I haven't mentioned that I talked about in the first video, and that's also what I'm going to be going over, and that is the filter. There's a filter, as I've said before, in between the conscious and subconscious mind. And so that filter, everything that you consciously think of does go into the subconscious. That is correct. But for things to fall in line with the formula to be able to manifest things, that's when you get into trouble, because you'll manifest some things you don't want and then some things you do want. And sometimes you try for something and it doesn't work because it doesn't fall in line with the formula. And now, so things will pass over, but the filter is very picky about some things. If you want to get across the point that you are rich and it doesn't understand this because you probably aren't rich, it's probably going to kick it out. Now, the subconscious will remember it, and that's why they repeat the affirmation over and over and over until, it's like, well, what's going on? Maybe I am rich. And then, bam, reality brings it on, and you randomly got this money out of nowhere. And there's a lot of things that go into this, and the Self-Mastery series is also made to hit all these points to then in turn help you strengthen your will. We're going to go over all kinds of techniques that exercise your will, that exercise your imagination, your visualization. I'll give you a few things you can start practicing tonight by the end of this video. But as we all know, the language of the subconscious mind is images and symbols. Now, you're probably thinking, why the hell are we even writing out affirmations instead of just drawing an image or making a symbol? Well, every letter of the English language, or really any language of that matter, is a symbol. Each letter means something else. See, now we see the word and we read it off, like if I look at something and it says turkey. I see Turkey, and I understand that as the word turkey because in that combination that means, oh, this animal, and an image pops into my head. But each letter has an individual meaning, and that's going to be for a different video. But this is why we write statements of intent. We write affirmations to where our subconscious can see it. Now, there are ways to do this and to get 10 times the results rather than doing these methods. And I'm going to teach that, but first you have to understand how it works, otherwise it's meaningless. It's like me handing you a recipe to a meal and you have no clue how to cook and you don't even know what half of the ingredients are. So you have to go over the basics and then more will come out later. And so since the subconscious mind registers images and symbols, as we've seen that, companies, they want to get that logo across. They want you to see that logo. I saw one of the last Sprite commercials. At the very end, the guy, he's holding something up in the background. He's like, all right, get the logo. Make sure you get it. And scene. They want to make sure you see the logo because the subconscious mind remembers that. It is so in line with symbols, images. This is why people will pay so much money to have an advertisement at the Super Bowl. This is why you go to sports events and there's, labels, signs, advertisements everywhere. You don't even have to consciously be looking at them because the subconscious mind sees all. It's going to get registered one way or another, and there's nothing you can do about it other than guarding the gates of your mind. But anyways, if we're trying to get an image over to the subconscious and there's a filter, how do we even fix this thing? Well, you can do this by means of meditation. As I've said, meditation will slim that down. Once you get into that trance state, it is way easier to move things from the conscious to the subconscious mind a lot easier. Now, if you were staring at your affirmation while you were meditating and you could gaze out but still focus, that's a good thing. And you're going to have to practice focusing while visualizing. And this can be hard for a lot of people who've never done this before. So here's what I would recommend. So you want to start meditating, and as I've said, go get a candle or an incense, something that you wouldn't normally do or have around you at the time so that it gives you a little bit of a trigger to know, hey, this is the headspace I'm getting in. So the first time you meditate, if you light, frankincense, the next time do it and keep on doing it, and eventually it'll become an anchor to your mind to know, hey, about to go into meditation, and it'll be way easier in the long run. So let's say you get a candle. Now, you light the candle, you sit back, breathe in, hold it, breathe out, hold it for a second, and then repeat. And keep doing that. And focus on your breath until you start to almost feel numb or very sleepy. Now, focus in on the flame. Now, you want to focus right on the flame and try not to see anything else. Almost like the movie effect, where you go to the movies and you're watching a movie and it's almost like a VR headset glued to you until someone coughs, their phone rings, and then you snap out of the trance and you look around and realize you're in a movie theater. So you should have that effect while you're doing it, and if that effect goes on, you're doing it very correctly. And so once you have focus down, which usually doesn't happen the first time, you should practice to the point that you can focus on it for anywhere from at least 5 to 10 minutes is pretty great. And so once you've mastered that, start visualizing what it is you want. Try to put what your will is into an image, a scene, like the stage of a play. If you can do that somehow and focus and also visualize that all at the same time while you're meditating, once you've slimmed down that line and keep doing that, you'll start manifesting anything you want way quicker than ever before. And so this is something that takes practice. A lot of people want to fix things. They want to fix the external, but they're not willing to work internally. As within, so without. You cannot change the reality around you unless you've changed it within you. It's not what happens in life, it's how you look at it. And also, if you start practicing meditation, it is good because it will help you focus and help your visualization. So while you're meditating to practice those things, meditating is also helping those things out. It's almost like a vice versa. Now, I've gone over how to help focus by, literally staring at something. That's the easiest way, is to just practice staring at something. Focus on a point on the wall and just stare at it and just try to clear your mind as much as possible. Now, how do you practice or exercise the visualization part? Well, a lot of people will have trouble with this and be way better at the focusing part, just as a lot of people will be really good at the focusing part and be very terrible at visualization. And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to start out by baby steps. You might have to close your eyes and visualize the number 2, like actually write it out with your mind, or the number 3 with your mind, whatever you want to do. Start with little things. You can even start as small as a dot, like I said, focusing on a dot on the wall. How about closing your eyes, seeing the dot yourself, seeing it as black in the middle, white on the outside, or white in the middle, black on the outside. Start practicing. So start closing your eyes, and once you can do shapes, numbers, little images like that, start doing bigger things. Start seeing scenes, pictures, and then you can actually go to the point where you actually can visualize everything 3-dimensional. And so this is how you exercise the focus and the visualization. Both sides, you start bringing them into harmony, and good things are going to happen, because this is just how it works. It's how you bring about new life, is opposing forces, male, feminine. It's starting to repeat and repeat and repeat at this point, and it's written in everything. I could teach you these things literally all day, all week, all month, but it's up to the student. It's up to you to actually do the work and go through the learning process within yourself, because it's not until you start doing the work that you will get the results. And so if you want to begin training your mind for the manifestation process, as I've said earlier in the video, if I hand you a formula or technique for something and you don't know what half the ingredients mean, you're not going to be able to make the dish. And so start practicing these things that I'm about to tell you. And these things will help train your mind to get in the right conditioning for the manifestation process to actually work, and you constantly get results on a regular basis. So it's not a sporadic thing, but something you can actually control, you can track, you can actually, while you're doing this, I recommend getting a second journal and writing for things that you ask for, you visualize for, you cast for, whatever it is, and write those things down and then come back to them later. You should have a journal for this, specifically for this, and I actually do have almost a rubric of a sense, or a layout for the things that you can write every day and log in different things to help this whole manifestation process. I'll make a video on it eventually. And so stay tuned for that, because that honestly, that was the big help, was when I got my journal organized, and I'll show you exactly how I did mine. But start by practicing these things, as I've said before, that are so important. Number 1, filtering in the positive and the negative thoughts. Every time you get a negative thought, say out loud, if you can, I reject that thought. If you can't, use the voice in your mind. And of course, when you get a positive thought, you say, I accept that thought. And this is a big life changer for a lot of people, including me. And if you're curious about who this came from, you can go check out Mind and Magic's channel, look up Frater Xavier and find him, the mystery school lessons. Pretty great for all you outside the box thinkers. Another thing is to stop judging situations as good or bad and just view them as is. I kind of explained this in the last video of synchronicities and the butterfly effect, and how you don't know what's happening right now that's leading you to the next situation. So if you're looking at this that's happening as the worst thing ever, but it leads you to finding the love of your life, you're going to be very thankful for that situation and be looking at it at a whole new perspective. You can see everything as good or bad at the same time. All truths are but half truths. And the last thing to do is to start meditating, start practice meditating. I made a video on this. It's called A Clear Space. It's in the Wealth and Prosperity series. I'm going to make a new one since that one's a podcast. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would enjoy a video better than that. And I'm also going to go over all kinds of techniques you can use to help yourself succeed more in life and just find your true self and what you want to do. This is what all of these are for, is for training your mind, your will, your visualization to then bring about whatever it is that you want. And while you're meditating, practice focusing and visualization. You must practice. Practice, practice, practice. This video is trailing on. I want all of you to go like my Facebook page. The description, it's going to be down there. Just go down there, at Wealth and Prosperity 3. Also go check out my Instagram. Still down there. It's Milk and Honey 33. And then also, you're obviously on my YouTube. So click right here to subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so you get all the notifications. Right here is going to be the first part of the How to Manifest Anything video. And then you can click right over here from my last video in case you missed either of these. Or you can watch them again because that'd be pretty cool. I will for you all to prosper and have a great day.